Welcome back. I'm David Wilson, leadership coach and founder of Dominion Street Coaching. I've previously commented that there are so many new books, articles, and podcasts about leadership that one could easily conclude that entirely new models of leadership are constantly emerging. Every few months, there seems to be another framework, another methodology, another supposedly revolutionary insight in how leaders should think and behave. And yet, as I work with leaders through coaching, I find myself observing something rather different. Again and again, the most effective leaders are not necessarily applying radically new ideas. More often, they're embodying timeless principles, principles that have been recognized, discussed, and refined many years ago, in some cases, many centuries ago. That realization prompted me recently to revisit some of the older literature that has shaped and inspired my own thinking over the years. And in doing so, I've found my convictions strengthened rather than weakened. There are remarkable pearls of wisdom to be found in these works, insights into human nature, character, resilience, discipline, and purpose that remain profoundly relevant today. One of those books is The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. Although written for a modern audience, it draws heavily on ancient Stoic philosophy, particularly the writings of Marcus Aurelius, and others who wrestle with leadership, adversity, and human behaviour in circumstances far more demanding than most of us will ever face today. And one of the central ideas of the book is deeply important for leaders today. That's the obstacle is not the interruption to leadership. In many respects, it's the path of leadership itself. When circumstances are favourable, when teams are aligned, when results are coming easily, leadership can appear relatively straightforward. But the real test of leadership emerges in adversity, when there's uncertainty, resistance, disappointment, criticism, and even failure. These moments reveal character and they shape it. Holiday speaks about three disciplines: perception, action, and will. And I think all three have a lasting relevance for anyone in leadership today. The first is perception, so how we interpret difficulty. One of the great dangers for leaders is to react emotionally and immediately to any obstacles they face, seeing them as disasters or personal attacks, rather than information to be understood calmly and wisely. So perhaps we should see a difficult conversation as something that actually brings needed clarity, or a failed initiative is something that exposes a weakness that required attention. And even a period of frustration may be developing in us a resilience and a wisdom that success alone never could. The leaders who navigate pressure best are often not the most naturally gifted. They're the people who retain perspective. They stay calm enough to interpret reality accurately without becoming consumed by drama or emotion. The second principle is disciplined action. Stoicism is sometimes caricatured as some sort of passive endurance, but in reality, it emphasizes focused action on what remains within our control. Leaders can easily exhaust themselves worrying about things they cannot influence: economic conditions, organizational politics, external criticism, or just the behavior of others. But effective leadership asks a simpler and more productive question. What is mine to do now? What decision must be taken? What conversation needs to happen? And what responsibility must I own? Leadership is often less about dramatic gestures and more about quiet consistency under pressure. The third principle he identifies is will, the capacity to endure hardship without losing integrity or perspective. And every meaningful leadership role eventually involves setbacks, it involves misunderstandings and disappointments. The challenge is not merely to survive those moments, but to emerge from them without becoming cynical or hardened. And that, I think, is one of the most enduring lessons from both Stoicism and great leadership more broadly. The obstacles we face are often the very means through which wisdom, character, and resilience are formed. The obstacle becomes the way. Thanks for listening.